Solo Man. Solo Man from the heart-shaped international city, a 3D geometry of the yantra. Picture Einstein puzzling over the perfect wave geometry of implosion.
The bad guy.
Basically,
the book I just read called
all dialects.
By the guy was a big bad guy, and he comes into this office.
Did you know that,
Linda?
That Michael was,
Don't.
hermaphrodite?
Sublet more galactic, monofanic, and hyperfused. You have symmetry operations on light lines, black holes threading galaxies throughout time, making time recursive. Here we come. Watch us come in. A good burger.
Yes, sir. I'll be right there.
You ever felt like you were a zombie?
Well, I don't know, Linda.
Sublet more galactic, monofanic, and hyperfused. You have symmetry operations among light lines. So be a man. Be a man if you're mad enough.
Jammed.
Are total strangers throwing parties in your brain?
You're acting.
I shouldn't be that way.
You look in the mirror and see someone you don't recognize.
The camera's on. Isn't that what you do in front of the camera? Laughing is healthy. Laughing is therapeutic. It's the best medicine. Just ask who's the guy down at the beach who had the Laughing Health Institute. What was that guy?
It happens to the best,
Norman,
and it happens to the rest.
Norman.
What goes around comes
Norman
around,
something.
and you can
Norman
never get rid of
Health.
it no matter how hard you try.
That's what David
That's
was
why a good drink of
Come up with the
Goldschlager at the end of the day
name,
is mighty
proper
satisfying.
name. Or the term,
Goldschlager,
he'd say
150 proof.
Norman.
It's good for your brain.
This stuff was real like 50s TV trash science fiction talk. I used to call him Mel Morgan. He used to call me Sean Ferguson. David had code names for club members. And club members had to abide by the house rules, one of which was when you leave the house, stop talking to anybody else except him. The house rules. When you leave the house rules. He shuffled off the mortal coil. He's passed from the material plane, but he's available for communication on the etheric plane. He was the greatest, as Doug Knott would say, he was the greatest private comedian who ever lived. The price of admission was your time. And how did he ensure your time? He would stand behind you after he permitted you entrance, after, canvassing the neighborhood, eyeballing the neighborhood. He'd look out between those that door and that cave, and he'd look around to see if the bad guys were out there. And he'd say, "Come in, quick, man! Come in! Come down the stairs, sit over there!" And he would slam the door, and he would insert a 2x4 plank in brackets on the door like you were being locked into a medieval dungeon. And once you're inside the castle, mower the portcullis. And if you got there early enough, it wasn't too bad. But if you happened by there late, he would permit you entrance, because the later it got, the more likely he was going to let you in. If he did that, and you made the mistake of entering, and he locked the door with that kind of final thud, my God, I'm never going to get out of here. I have to go to work tomorrow. The biggest mistake anybody could make with this man, and he was a very persuasive person. He really was. And he really knew how to dig down deep and catch you in your bullshit. The worst thing you could do was allow him to ingratiate himself to you by providing him with moderation and amusement of other types, so that you found yourself within an hour and a half feeling like $1 million, maybe $100, or maybe $1 million, at least 100, because when he had you in that very suggestible place, right? He would turn on you and say, he mesmerized with words and actions and flash paper and incense and marijuana and God knows what other Schedule C brainbusters. He would get you to the point where you would be exactly where he wanted you to be, and you imagined yourself that you wanted to be. He would say, you imagine that you want to be there. And he would ask you something, and he would say, hey, don't you work at that place? Yeah, you're a big shot at that place, aren't you? Well, yeah, and of course you're feeling like, hey, yeah, I'm a big shot. He thinks I'm a big shot. I must be a big shot. He never worked. He worked very hard at going to the bank once a month and in the shade.
And he'd always...
That made him, you know what that made him? A nihilist and an antinomianist. If you're an antinomian, you're above the law. No law applied to David, within reason. No law of personal responsibility and behavior applied to a man for whom there were no consequences to misbehavior. Yeah, there were short-term consequences, but there was always Daddy. I found myself coming under his Svengali-like sway. 2 in the morning, I had to get up at 7 o'clock the next morning. I was still 40 pounds away from him. And he'd be ranting and raving and doing this and that. And he'd be really paying off what it is he brought you there to do, which was to get something out of it. Every time, it was to get something. Something that he perceived that he needed, that he imagined that he needed. What did he need? Oh, maybe he needed a tape duplicated, or a tape edited, or a camera provided, or this or that, because he was always begging shit. I mean, paying for it would have been too ordinary, too boring, too pedestrian, too proletarian, too bourgeois. All that shit. He weaseled it. Willy Weasatronic. Conniving, inveigling. Even if he had it, he'd weasel more of it. He was a weaseler. Willie Weasler, a.k.a. David Maxon, a.k.a. Mel Morgan, a.k.a. David Jove. He was a man of many monikers. And all the gherkins, and don't be a gherkin, or a geekle. Get a slap to an awareness. Watch New Wave Theater.
Though our smoke may hide the heavens from your eyes, it will vanish, and the stars will shine again. Because for all our power and weight and size, we are nothing more than children of your brain.